What if the monsters we fear most weren't born monsters at all? What if their darkness was built piece by piece by love, by loss, by control, and by a desperate attempt to feel connected to something divine? Remember that word. It's going to become important. Today, we're descending into the shadows of one of America's most chilling figures, Ed Gein, the man whose crimes inspired Psycho, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Silence of the Lambs. You probably heard about these. This isn't just another true crime story. Stick around because this is a study of what happens when human design meets horror, when energy meant to create actually destroys. But before we begin, a fair warning. Seriously, this is a warning. This episode contains, honestly, some disturbing material. We're not going to get into too much detail, but this is going to include murder and descriptions of body desecration. Please listen with care and caution. Okay. I'm Crystal, the creator of Human Design and Astro Club, a space to gather, to learn, unfold, and most of all, be understood. And I am here to help you win at the game called life. Every year around Halloween, I explore the question, what motivates people to kill? Not from a place of fear, but from curiosity. I'm a first line, after all. I'm a 1-3 sacral generator, rising Capricorn, Sagittarius sun, and an Aries moon. So from the same curiosity that the musical that inspired a lot of me, Wicked asks, are people born wicked or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? And through the lens of human design, we can trace patterns, the energy that fuels creation, destruction, and everything in between. If you're new here, be sure to hit subscribe. If you want to explore human design a little bit more, go to humandesignastro.com to generate your free human design chart. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Journey Through HD for more insights like this. I'll put everything in the description down below. So now let's step into the valley of Ed Gein because that was his actual environment. It's one of the fixed places I found in his chart. And let's meet the man who lived in the dark echo of his mother's voice. Ed Gein, let's talk about a little bit about his story first, okay? And I'll throw in some human design. And then at the end, we're really going to dive into a lot of layers of his chart to give a very big, full picture on who he was. So Ed Gein was born in 1906 in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And from the very beginning, he lived under a very strict and unforgiving rule of his mother, Augusta. Would I love to see her chart? A woman so devout to domineering, she also believed the world was poisoned by sin. She preached to Ed and his brother Henry that women were evil, that the world outside their farmhouse was corrupt, and that salvation could only be found in her love and in the Bible verses she recited every single day. His father, George, was an alcoholic. Surprise, surprise. Angry, distant. But his mother, she was the voice of God in his world. And to defy her meant eternal damnation. So Ed didn't defy her. He worshiped her. And that worship became the foundation of his madness. In school, Ed was quiet, shy, and strange, obviously. He laughed to himself as if talking to voices only he could hear, which does echo the voices of his Valley's environment. Maybe even a trait for him that was defined through his head and ajna with his channel of logic. He had poor social skills, but he was polite. He was always polite. A lot of people really called him harmless. He lived on the outside, really looking in and watching the world he was forbidden to touch. Everything changed after his father died in 1940. And then his brother Henry died under suspicious circumstances. I say that with there's a chance that Ed had something to do with this back in 1944. And that left only Ed and his mother, Augusta. And when Augusta finally passed in 1945, Ed's world literally collapsed. And so he boarded up her bedroom like a tomb and maybe a little bit like a transferred market, which was the opposite of his wide valleys. And he created really a shrine of untouched relics, her Bible, her furniture, and her presence. He lived in the kitchen a lot and surrounded by filth and rot, but the holy room of his mother remained perfect. She had told him women were the devils. But now, without her, he was desperate to feel her presence again, to merge with her spirit. Okay, that's where the darkness began to take shape. And spirit really does ground him. So it's a little interesting that he began visiting graves, not at random, but of women who resembled his mother. He dug them up. He brought home their remains. And this is where it gets gross. Okay. I really just want to preface this part. And he crafted from them a grotesque creation, a woman's suit made of human skin. Okay. He said he wanted to become his mother, to slip into her spirit, to feel her again, and how very gate 55 in his conscious earth. And in a way, this was his twisted form of manifestation. And I actually like to tell people you manifest through your unconscious and conscious earths. And so this was a response to unbearable emotional pressure, which brings us to discuss his design in greater detail. So let's dive in. I found one reference to his birth time. And so I did look at the entire day, and there's this one small window where he might be a generator. So no matter what, he is a sacral being. He always has emotional authority, but there might be a small window where he's a generator. But this combination of emotional and sacral, it really tells a powerful story because again, there's a very small window where he's a generator, but he's designed to create. And also, all sacral beings are made to respond to life with vitality, to move fast, build, and do. Now, he was slowed down by that emotional wave, which I think, honestly, saved him in a lot of ways. And also, to be honest, we have no idea like how many people he did actually, unalive. So he felt trapped. And when your energy as a sacral being has nowhere to go, because the sacral is a motor and our life force, that sacral engine can turn inward. It can twist, it can fester. Imagine having the drive of a builder, as all sacral beings have, but being told all your life that you must never touch the world. That was Ed Gein's story. He was designed to generate life, but suppressed into silence. When he lost the only person that he always loved, his mother, his emotional wave, that 3955 channel of emoting, had nowhere to release. It's a pressure built channel. That channel is all about connecting to spirit through this emotional depth, seeking communion with something divine, and breaking through isolation. But without a healthy connection, because most likely he had an undefined spleen. I'll put up his chart of the one that he most likely had. It can implode. So for Ed, that spiritual longing became an obsession. That emotional wave turned to decay. Instead of reaching for God, he reached for his mother's ghost. The 3955 is about the emotional hunger to connect with spirit. It's very much actually connected to the stomach. And so he sought that connection physically by literally wearing his mother's essence. It's grotesque, yes, but symbolically, it's the ultimate distortion of that emotional channel's purpose to find spirit through intimacy and feeling. But let's go a little bit deeper because I am a 1-3. So Ed also likely carried, this is also fixed for the day, the 1333, the channel of the prodigal, the story keeper. This energy collects experiences, keeps secrets, and transmits history. So isn't it a little strange that even in death, Ed's story has been passed through generations, from Psycho to Leatherface to Buffalo Bill, that 1333 in shadow holding the collective memory of horror, becoming the story itself. So then we also have to take a look at that to find head and ajna, that 63-4, the channel of logic and doubt, endless questions, endless patterns. What if? How could it be? This energy seeks certainty. But if it's distorted, it can spiral into obsession. I feel like all the head channels can really spiral into madness. So Ed's mind likely raced through these questions every night in that farmhouse, trying to find reason, trying to make sense of grief by building something tangible, something that would make the emptiness stop. In human design, we each thrive in a specific environment. And for Ed, another fixed area for him was actually Valley's environment for the day. It's one of his, like I said, only variables aside from View. View also had a fixed day for that as well. So the Valley is where stories can echo. It's the frequency. Valleys is literally connected to frequency. And he was receptive body. Okay, so there was a listener aspect, an observer aspect to him. The one who hears the whispers of the world and carries them forward to the collective. Even in the darkest twist of fate, Ed Gein became the carrier of a story. His life rippled through pop culture, feeding the collective with the archetype of the American monster. Valley's people are the ones with their ear to the ground. They remember, especially with that, for him, that 1333, they retell and they warn. And that's exactly what his legacy became, a warning passed on again and again. You could also say he lived this through, as I said, his other fixed area for the day, possibility view. Always looking for what could be. But when he lost his mother, that shifted into a transferred probability view, seeing what might have been if things were different. That what if haunted him. What if she was still here? What if I could bring her back? What if, the most grotesque part, I could be her? And that's the tragic truth. His imagination, his possibility became his prison. His design gave him vision, but trauma distorted it into delusion. So was Ed born to be a monster, or was he made into one? So in human design, we understand that energy is actually not good or bad or evil. It's frequency. It just is. It's an objective perspective on cycles and on people. Each type, each channel, each gate is a potential. Its potential was for him to connect deeply to spirit, to bring hidden stories to the surface, to find beauty in the unseen. But his environment, a controlling mother, he has a lot of receptivity in his design, isolation, grief, guilt, mutated that potential into horror. He wasn't born evil. He was actually born extremely sensitive. He was emotional. He had emotional authority. And in a world that punished emotion, especially in his time, and shamed desire, his design had nowhere healthy to go. That's where the monster was actually made. So, what can we take from this? Maybe that wickedness isn't always what it seems. Maybe what we call evil is the shadow of unmet potential of someone's energy turned against itself. And, that's what human design can reveal. The mechanics of human behavior. If you were to put it in a short sentence, human design is the mechanics of human behavior. How creation and destruction share the same origin, energy that longs to express itself. So when we suppress our design, we distort our light. And sometimes that distortion can actually become deadly. So I just want to thank you for joining me for this dark exploration. If this episode made you think, or, even gave you the chills, let me know in the comments down below. So do you think Ed Gein was destined to turn out this way, or was he conditioned by his mother and his environment? And if you want to understand your own human design, your type, your channels, your mechanics, go to humandesignastro.com, look up your free human design chart, and follow me on Instagram, Journey Through HD, for more explorations of human design, astrology, and the mysteries that actually connect us all. And if you enjoyed this episode, give it a big thumbs up. Check out my previous killer analysis, because I have a whole playlist for you to binge, okay, on Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, Richard Ramirez, okay? Each one revealing another side of the human shadow. And I'll drop it down also in the description down below so you can check them out. I'll also drop in the description Annie Elise's YouTube episode, because she does a lot of true crime. And so she has an episode on Ed Gein, because she went pretty deep. So if your stomach can handle it, check out the Netflix series, also Monster, of their latest series on Ed Gein. Until next time, stay curious, stay conscious, and especially stay safe. Happy Halloween, and I'll see you later. Bye.